In the shadowed corners of a once vibrant home, where the echoes of laughter have faded into uneasy silences, Maya Ellis grapples with the ghosts of truths long buried. A devoted mother and wife, she has shielded her fractured family from painful secrets, but the cost now claws at her soul. Estranged daughter, distant husband, and a son straining to hold the pieces together. Tonight, in the dim glow of her study, she summons the courage to break free, her fingers hovering over the record button. As the weight of decades presses down, Maya's hands trembled as she adjusted the tripod in the dim study, the closed camera lens staring back like a blind eye. Dust motes danced in the slanted afternoon light, filtering through half-drawn blinds, casting shadows over the cracked family portrait on the wall. Her heart hammered, a frantic Morse code of doubt. "Delete it," the voice inside whispered, slick with years of habit. "Protect them one last time." But the weight of unspoken decades pressed on her chest, heavier than the locked journal she'd finally cracked open that morning. No more. Today, she hunted the truth, not as prey to silence. She flicked the power switch, the red light blinking to life, but paused before hitting record. Anxiety coiled in her gut, sharp as broken glass. What if this shattered everything? Daniel's skepticism, Lena's cold fury, Noah's buried complicity. They weren't ready. None of them were. The house creaked under the invisible strain, as if the walls themselves held their breath. A car door slammed outside, gravel crunching under tires. Daniel. She glanced at the window, her eldest son, briefcase in hand, face etched with the lawyer's perpetual wariness. He entered without knocking, the front door's groan echoing through the hall. "Mom?" His voice was measured, probing. "What's this about?" Your message was cryptic. "In the study," she called, voice steadier than she felt. Footsteps approached, deliberate, but she turned away, fingers hovering over the camera. Choice. It burned in her veins now, overriding the fear. Not deletion, not delay. She wouldn't cower behind the lie that secrets saved them. Another engine rumbled, distant but insistent. Lena, arriving separate as always. Her estrangement a chasm widened by betrayal, she sensed but never named. Maya heard the key in the lock, the soft thud of a bag hitting the floor. "Daniel's here already." Lena's tone sliced the air, laced with accusation. No warmth, just the brittle politeness of fractured bonds. The boundaries between them cracked audibly in the silence that followed. A pause, heavy with resentments unspoken. Maya straightened, the camera's closed lens now a sentinel at her side. She could feel the family's division thickening the air, pulling them apart even as they gathered. But this was the first step, breaking the hush, not out of spite, but love's raw edge. Her pulse shifted, anxiety ebbing into a quiet resolve. Is this strength enough? The question lingered, unanswered, as she finally pressed record. The lens whirred open. As the recording began, the family gathered in the adjacent living room, where the air hung heavy with the scent of cooling tea. Steam long faded from porcelain cups scattered on the coffee table. Maya sat rigid on the edge of the worn armchair. Her fingers knotted in her lap, like roots clinging to dry earth. Across from her, Lena leaned forward, eyes sharp as shattered glass, her voice a low simmer, threatening to boil over. Daniel hovered by the mantel, arms crossed, the self-appointed referee in this fraying arena. Noah lingered in the shadowed corner, silent as ever, his gaze fixed on the faded family portrait above the fireplace, a relic from better days, its frame gathering dust. "Why now, Mom?" Lena's words sliced through the hush, each syllable laced with years of buried fire. You let me walk away thinking it was all my fault, that I was the one who didn't fit. But there were lies, weren't there? From the beginning. Maya's throat tightened, a practiced swallow to dam the flood. She wanted to smooth it over, to weave the silence back into place like a familiar quilt. Lena, please, we've all made choices. Let's not. Not what? Dig? Lena's laugh was brittle, a crack in the air. You think I haven't felt this hole my whole life? Dad's distance, your whispers behind doors. Tell me, what did you hide that broke us? Daniel shifted, his lawyer's poise cracking. Lena, ease up. This isn't a courtroom. But his voice wavered, eyes darting to Maya, pleading for the peace he always brokered. The portrait caught Maya's eye then. A hairline fracture, spider webbing across the glass, unnoticed until now, as if the family's own fault lines had etched themselves into the image. Her heart pulsed, a steady thrum against her ribs, tension coiling tighter, then releasing in erratic waves. She could feel it, the silence she'd guarded like a fortress, now riddled with breaches. History seeped in, unbidden, flashes of that rainy night 20 years ago. Noah's confession in the study, the choices she'd buried to shield them all. I thought protecting you meant holding it in, Maya murmured, her voice a thread, pulling taut. The words hung, pulsing with the weight of what might follow, the storm of truths gathering just beyond the next breath. Lena's stare bored deeper, unrelenting. Could the quiet endure this onslaught, or would it shatter like the frame above? With the tension mounting, they moved back into the study, where Maya's fingers trembled as she reached for the leather-bound journal on the oak desk, its spine cracked like the fault lines in her soul. The camera's red light blinked steadily in the corner of the study, a silent sentinel capturing every fracture. Daniel sat rigid on the edge of the armchair, arms crossed, his lawyer's skepticism etched in furrowed brows. Lena leaned against the doorframe, her eyes sharp with years of resentment, the estranged daughter who had fled this house of whispers. She shouldn't do this, not with them watching, but the weight of silence had crushed her long enough. Maya flipped open the journal, the pages yellowed and brittle, releasing a faint scent of aged paper and regret. Her voice, when it came, was a whisper against the hum of the recorder. It started here, she said, tracing the faded ink of her own handwriting from decades ago. The day I chose to bury it all. The room blurred, and the past ignited like a struck match. Flash, a sun-dappled kitchen, 1992. Noah's hands on her shoulders, his voice low and urgent. We can't tell them, Maya. It would destroy everything. Her younger self nodding, the lie sealing like wax on a letter never sent. The warmth of that afternoon clashed with the chill now seeping through the study's thin walls. Tension coiled in her chest, a vice tightening. Daniel shifted, his jaw clenching. Was this some dramatic ploy? Lena's breath hitched, her fists balled at her sides, the betrayal she'd always sensed now clawing its way out. Maya's control frayed. Her free hand gripped the desk, knuckles white. I wrote it that night, she continued, voice cracking. The affair, the cover-up, how we let it poison us all. I thought protecting you meant hiding it. But God, what have I done? Another flash. Lena, as a girl, slamming her bedroom door after overhearing fragments. The family's polite dinners turning to minefields of unspoken accusations. The journal's words blurred through Maya's tears. She let them, allowed the memories to flood. No denial, no retreat. Revelation spilled like ink from a tipped bottle, staining the air between them. Daniel's eyes softened. Just a flicker, trust splintering, but curiosity blooming. Lena stepped closer, her anger fracturing into something raw, almost tender. The camera whirred on, bearing witness. Would these ghosts unravel her resolve, or forge it anew? Maya closed the journal, but the truth hung open, irreversible. As the revelations deepened, the camera lingered on Maya's face, the study lamp casting harsh shadows across her lined cheeks as she clutched the old journal. Its leather cover cracked like the family portrait on the wall. Her voice, steady in the confession video, faltered now, the words pulling her back. "It started with silence," she murmured, eyes distant. "The kind that builds walls." Flashback, the kitchen, years ago, steam rising from a forgotten pot on the stove. Lena, barely 20, slammed her fist on the table, her voice raw. "Tell me, Mom, Dad's lies? Did you know? All this time?" Noah hovered in the doorway, his face a mask, saying nothing. Maya stood frozen, hands twisting in her apron, the weight of secrets pressing like invisible chains. She opened her mouth, but only air escaped. Silence. Lena's eyes hardened, betrayal flashing like lightning. "You're just like him," she spat, grabbing her coat. The door banged shut, leaving the room echoing with unspoken accusations. Maya sank to the floor, the silence now a web, sticky and suffocating, wrapping tighter around her heart. Present. Lena burst into the study, her arrival unannounced, eyes blazing, as if the past had followed her through the door. She stopped short, seeing the camera's red light blinking. "Turn it off, Mom. Or are you finally spilling everything? Like you didn't back then?" Her voice cracked, resentment thick as fog, fueling the fire that had smoldered for years. Maya's fingers trembled on the journal, flipping it open. Dust motes danced in the light, and there, on the windowsill, a spider's web, delicate threads stretched across the pane, pierced by a stray beam of afternoon sun. It shimmered, fragile barrier broken, truth leaking through the gaps. She met Lena's gaze, shame warming her throat. I chose it," Maya whispered, the admission shy, a confession laced with regret. The silence, not to save us, to hide, from myself mostly. Lena leaned in, fists clenched, the old hurt surging into something sharper, a demand clawing for release. "It burned me out, Mom. That quiet. It wasn't protection. It was poison. Why? Tell me why you let me walk away thinking I was the problem." Her words hung, slicing the air, the web on the sill trembling as if stirred by the force. Maya's chest tightened, the question unspoken but alive. Could she say it? That her silence had shattered Lena, piece by piece? The room held its breath, the pierced web glinting like a warning. Hidden rot always surfaced, demanding air. The confrontation intensified moments later, as Daniel's hands trembled as he lunged for the laptop on the study table. The screen's glow casting harsh shadows across his face. "Mom, stop this, now!" His voice cracked like thunder in the stifling room, raw anger surging through him. Years of holding the family together, fueling the outburst. Maya sat frozen in the armchair, her finger hovering over the upload button, eyes locked on the blinking cursor. The confession video, her unraveling of betrayals, Noah's hidden affairs, the lies that had poisoned their bloodline, played silently in the background. A ghost of footage already half sent to the cloud. He slammed the lid down, but it bounced back open, the progress bar mocking him at 87%. "You're destroying us. Everything I fought for, the firm, the image, the fragile piece, gone because you can't keep your mouth shut." Fury boiled in his chest, hot and protective. Visions of courtrooms, and tabloid headlines flashing like indictments. He was the lawyer, the fixer, the one who'd buried the scandals deep to shield them all. But Maya didn't flinch. Her gaze softened, not with defiance, but with a weary truth that pierced him. As he straightened, his elbow knocked the edge of the mantel. The family portrait, that old photo from the lake house, all smiles and sun-faded poses, teetered and fell. It hit the hardwood with a sharp crack, the glass spiderwebbing across their frozen faces, Noah's arm around Maya's shoulders, Lena's teenage scowl, Daniel's boyish grin. He knelt to pick it up, shards glinting like accusations, and for a split second, he saw it, the fracture mirroring the one in his soul. Silence had been his armor, but now it felt like complicity, a betrayal as deep as the secrets it hid. The upload chimed, complete, inevitability settled like dust. Daniel's rage ebbed, leaving a hollow ache, an emptiness that echoed in the quiet. He met Maya's eyes, a flicker of raw honesty passing between them, trust teetering on the brink. Could he let this shatter them to save what was left? The question hung, unanswered, as the first notifications buzzed on his phone. With the upload irreversible, the study door creaked open, like a reluctant confession, and Noah Ellis stepped in, his broad shoulders filling the frame. The air thickened, charged with the hum of the camera's red light blinking on the tripod. Daniel and Lena froze on the couch, their faces etched with the same wary skepticism that had shadowed this forced family summit. Noah's eyes darted to the lens, then to Maya, who lingered in the dim corner by the bookshelf, her silhouette half swallowed by shadows. "Enough of this," Noah said, his voice low and measured, the lawyer's son in him surfacing to broker peace. He crossed the room in 3 deliberate strides, hand outstretched as if to silence the recording. "Maya, turn it off. Whatever you're digging up, it's done. We've protected this family long enough. Let it stay buried." The words ignited her. Maya emerged from the shadows, her face a storm, eyes blazing, fists clenched at her sides. Rage boiled up, hot and unfiltered, years of swallowed fire erupting. "Protected," she spat, her voice cracking the quiet like thunder. She stepped forward, close enough to see the flicker of guilt in his eyes. "You mean lied for, covered up your mess, your choices, while I carried the weight. That affair, the money you siphoned. Don't pretend it was for us. I was silent for you, Noah. For all of us. But no more," he faltered, hand dropping, glancing at the cracked family portrait on the wall behind her. A faded snapshot from better days. The glass spiderwebbed from some long-forgotten argument, the fracture slicing right through their smiling faces. It hung there, a silent witness, mirroring the rift widening between them now. Daniel shifted uneasily. Lena's breath hitched, but Maya pressed on, her fury a blade turning inward. "Admit it. Admit your part. And mine. God, my silence was complicity. I chose the lie every time, thinking it shielded you, shielded them." Her voice trembled, the rage fracturing into something rawer, a dawning weight. She turned to the camera, unblinking. "I'm done choosing shadows. The truth airs now." Noah's jaw tightened, his choice hanging in the stale air. Defend the facade or let the dam break? Would he finally step aside or cling to the silence that had bound them all? The red light pulsed on, capturing the fracture. The confrontation peaked as Maya continued her recording, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the camera lens in the dim glow of her study. The red light blinked like a heartbeat, unyielding. She leaned forward, her composed facade cracking just enough for the truth to seep through. "It was 1992, she said, voice steady, but laced with the weight of decades. "Noah, your father. He didn't just lose the money in that deal. He stole it from his own brother. And I knew. I covered it up, lied to the police, to all of you, to protect this family." The door burst open behind her. Noah stormed in, face flushed, eyes wild. "Maya, stop. Hit delete. Now." He lunged toward the laptop, fingers clawing for the keyboard. Daniel and Lena froze in the doorway, their arrival timed like a cruel punchline. Daniel's jaw slack, Lena's eyes widening in betrayal's fresh sting. Maya's resolve hardened, a fire igniting in her chest. She slapped Noah's hand away, the force surprising even her. "No more hiding." Water from the glass on the desk sloshed over the rim as she shoved it aside in her fervor. Clear liquid spilling across the wood, pooling like unshed tears, finally breaking free. It soaked the edge of the family portrait on the wall, the crack in the frame seeming to deepen. Noah recoiled, pleading now. "This will destroy us. The law, the shame, everything." But Maya turned back to the lens, her breath quickening. The guilt she'd buried for so long twisted into something sharper, a duty she could no longer ignore. Words poured out, piercing the thick silence that had bound them all. "I thought silence was love," she confessed, glancing at her children, "but it was the real betrayal." Lena stepped forward, voice breaking. "Why now, Mom? After all this?" Daniel hovered, torn between pulling her away and listening. Maya's finger hovered over the delete key, then veered to broadcast. The upload bar flickered to life. Fear clawed at her throat. Would they hate her forever? But as the file sent, a strange liberation washed over her, cool as the spilled water evaporating in the air. The screen confirmed, transmitted, no turning back. Noah slumped against the wall, defeated. The room hung heavy, the question unspoken. Could she truly let go, or would the fear pull her under again? In the aftermath, the study felt like a held breath, the air thick with the residue of Maya's confession. The camera's red light had blinked off, but its gaze lingered in the silence. Maya sat rigid in her armchair, the journal heavy in her lap, its pages splayed like wounds. Across from her, Daniel paced the worn rug, his lawyer's poise cracking at the edges, while Lena perched on the windowsill, arms crossed, her eyes flicking anywhere but her mother's face. A tremor ran through the room, subtle at first, like the house itself recoiling. Daniel's heel caught the edge of the side table in his restless circuit. The family portrait, that gilded lie propped on the mantel, teetered. Time slowed as it tipped, the frame's ornate wood groaning once before plummeting. Glass shattered against the hardwood, shards scattering like brittle memories. The image of them, smiling, whole, from a decade ago, splintered into fragments. Maya's forced grin, Noah's distant gaze, the children's younger, unscarred faces. Shock hit like a slap. Daniel froze mid-step, his breath catching. Lena gasped, hand flying to her mouth, eyes wide with the raw jolt of it. Maya watched, heart pounding, as the pieces glinted under the lamplight, mirroring the fractures she'd just laid bare. Then, the shift. Realization seeped in, cold and inexorable. Daniel knelt, fingers hovering over a shard that caught his reflection. His own face, distorted, accusatory. Tears welled, unbidden, tracing paths down his cheeks. Not just from the fall, but from the weight of it all. The betrayals unearthed, the years of polite distance now exposed as complicity. Lena slid to the floor, knees drawn up, sobs breaking free. Soft at first, then heaving. Her tears weren't forgiveness, but acknowledgement. The deep cuts of abandonment finally bleeding out. Maya's chest tightened, a vice of responsibility. She saw it in their faces, the softening around the eyes, the way resentment yielded to something rawer. Pain shared, not hoarded. No one spoke. Words would fracture further. The spilled glass of water from earlier pooled nearby, mixing with the debris, truth mingling with ruin. Could they let the ideal shatter completely? Trade the facade for this jagged honesty? Or turn away, rebuilding on sand? The question hung, unanswered, as the first tentative glance passed between them. Mother to son, daughter to both, eyes unflinching from the hurt. As the shards settled, the study lamp cast a fractured glow over the room, shadows clinging to the walls like unspoken regrets. Maya sat at the desk, the open journal splayed before her, its pages a cascade of ink-stained confessions. The spine cracked like the family portrait on the mantel. She traced the faded entry from 20 years ago, her finger lingering on the words she'd buried. I chose silence to shield them, but it poisoned us all. Daniel paced by the window, arms crossed, his lawyer's skepticism etched in the tight line of his jaw. Lena hovered near the door, eyes narrowed, fists clenched at her sides. The same fury that had erupted in the kitchen all those years back, now simmering into wary expectation. The air hummed with tension, thick as the spilled glass of water on the floor from earlier, its droplets still pooling like tears, too long held back. I was complicit, Maya said, her voice steady, but laced with the tremor of a dam breaking. Internal whispers clawed at her. They'll walk away. You'll lose them for good. But she pushed on, meeting their gazes. The lies weren't just Noah's. They were mine too. I hid the affair, the money, the way it unraveled us, thinking protection meant endurance. It was cowardice, and for that, I accept whatever comes. The questions from the community, the legal mess, the pain I've inflicted. No more hiding. Daniel stopped pacing, his eyes flicking to the journal, suspicion flickering like a faulty bulb. You expect us to just swallow this? After everything? His words hung, defensive, probing for the trap he'd always braced for. Lena's breath hitched, her posture softening just a fraction, empathy cracking through the armor of betrayal. She stepped closer, glancing at the open pages. You looked so small back then, Mom. In the kitchen, when I screamed at you. I thought you were the wall, unmovable. But this? She nodded at the journal. This is you breaking it down. Maya's chest tightened, the weight of their stares a crossroads. Choose now, defend the old lies, or step into the light. I promise transparency, she said, voice resolute, the words a vow etched in the air. From here, no locked doors, no selective truths. Ask anything. I'll answer, even if it hurts. Daniel exhaled, sinking into a chair. A memory surfaced unbidden. Maya at his law school graduation, her quiet pride in the crowd, the way she'd whispered, "Believe in justice, even when it's hard." That faith, buried under years of distance, stirred now. You fought for me once, he murmured, suspicion ebbing toward something raw, like acceptance's first breath. Maybe. Lawsuits, scandals. We could lose everything. Lena, arms crossed, eyes red from the confrontation earlier, shot back, or gain something real for once. But what now? Do we run? Pretend it didn't happen? Noah loomed by the window, his face a storm of betrayal and defeat. He'd denounced her in the heat of the recording, calling her revelation selfish, but now silence choked him. The air hung heavy, charged with the weight of choices, sever ties, and scatter into isolated honesty, or endure the glare together, rebuilding under unforgiving light. Maya straightened, her voice steadying like a conductor's baton. We can't stop it. The truth is out. It's breathing for us now. She stepped forward, drawing them in. The children hesitated, then leaned closer, shock yielding to a tentative pull. Daniel nodded faintly. Lena's hand brushed Maya's arm, a spark of hope flickering through the rift. Outside, the front door stood ajar, evening breeze whispering through, framing the uncertain horizon. No one moved to close it. In that open threshold, the family's first collective exhale broke the hush. Not resolution, but a fragile momentum, truth's wild pulse urging them onward. Could it free them without shattering what trust remained?